Alright, I've already looked at this earlier, but we're going to go over it again because I do want to cover it for the channel. This guy who was in high school, his name is Jesse Butler. He is in Stillwater, Oklahoma, I believe. That's the name of it. He is one of the worst fucking rapists I think I've seen in a really long time. This story is really, it's a heavy topic, so just a little bit of warning before we get into this.
Well, if this don't set you on fire, I guarantee your wood's wet, because it makes you upset. Anybody that listens to this is going to be absolutely upset.
There is outrage in Oklahoma right now as a teenage rapist who could have gotten almost 80 years in prison for violent attacks instead doesn't have to spend any time behind bars at all. He is being called the new Brock Turner, as you have parents, community members, at least one lawmaker. They are crying foul over this sweetheart deal. We are going to be sitting down with a content creator and reporter who has been covering every aspect of this case to try to figure out what happened here. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A high school baseball player out in Stillwater, Oklahoma, just accepted a deal that means he won't spend any time in prison after pleading no contest to some of the most heinous charges there are. Charges like rape, forced oral sodomy, assault and battery by strangulation.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Yeah. I wasn't kidding when I said this was going to be a heavy topic. This guy's awful, as you'll get into. I've already reacted to it, but we're going to react to it for the channel.
According to graphic arrest affidavits that were filed in Payne County, Oklahoma court, then 17-year-old Jesse Mack Butler targeted at least 2 teen girls that he dated. And many of these accusations, they are right out of a horror movie, okay? So now, before we dig into this, before we dig deeper into these affidavits, I got to tell you a little bit more about Butler, who turned 18 in August. So he attended Stillwater Public Schools, played for the high school baseball teams and other regional outfits. This is according to reporting from the Daily Mail. Stillwater is the home of Oklahoma State University, and Butler, by the way, comes from an influential sports family. The Daily Mail reports that his father, Mack Butler, was the OSU football team's director of operations from 2001 to 2000.
Right, so as you know, Jesse Butler, who's the main confirmed rapist, as you guys are going to find out later, but it's not like alleged, like it's basically confirmed in both the affidavits and his admittance of it later. But essentially, he comes from a like wealthier family who has like connections and is able, they have status in like the small town of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it's fucking crazy. I was watching this on Papa Gut stream, and there were people in chat that were saying, like, there was one person in chat who said they were they went to Stillwater, Oklahoma high school. And they were like, oh my God, 10 years ago, I literally went to this high school, and now this shit's happening. And apparently a lot of like abuse and a lot of like really shady things are kind of hand-waved in a lot of these areas. So apparently like some shady stuff is very normalized in a lot of these parts.
2004 and then again in 2009 until 2021. He was then hired as the assistant athletics director for Stillwater Public Schools. Butler's mother, Jackie Butler, is a coordinator for Cowboy sports properties at OSU. This is again according to the Daily Mail. Family members of Butler's victims described him as seemingly like, quote, the perfect boyfriend when he dated their 16-year-old daughters. But these affidavits, they reveal that behind closed doors, Butler was essentially a violent predator who refused to be told no. I'm going to take a look at this paperwork.
Christ. Those are definitely some of the worst kinds of predators, those who refuse to be told no, and they still go and they still traumatize a bunch of poor girls.
Okay, now we're not going to be getting into some of the more graphic parts of the affidavits, but this will give you an idea of the grave seriousness of this case. Now, according to the first affidavit, a 16-year-old identified by her initials LS told a school resource officer in September of 2024 that she had dated Jesse Butler for a few months earlier in the year, and that during that time, he physically and sexually assaulted her multiple times.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Multiple times, including trying to rape her inside his car outside of an ice cream shop the previous February.
Yeah, so this guy is obviously a danger to society, like right off the rip. This guy is is like very problematic. And you know that this, if he was able to do it multiple times to her and another girl, like, you know that this guy is the kind of person to repeat offend. And this, I'm about to give a super hot take here. I don't care if he was 17 when the crime was committed. He should still go to prison for life. And you're going to see throughout the story, this guy is horrific. This is like one of the worst cases I've seen of sexual assault, like, ever. This is really awful. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, he was 17 when it happened or whatever. He was still a kid or a minor himself. I don't know. When I was 17 years old, yeah, I was stupid. But I wasn't, like, I at least knew not to do whatever the fuck this was. To sexually assault someone violently multiple times, or to, like, just do a whole bunch of other stuff that this guy does in this story that you're going to find out. So I think this guy, even though he was 17 at during the time the crime was committed, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He definitely knew what he was doing was wrong.
The affidavit reads, LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he had to do, but he had to do it.
He had to do it.
LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to. Now, according to LS, a woman must have heard her screaming because she walked up to the car and interrupted them. LS told police that Butler told her that if the police came, they would both be in trouble. He reportedly took her back to his home where her car was parked and then tried to rape her again. The affidavit says LS told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, "You're not going until I'm finished."
You can definitely tell the way that this Jesse Butler person acts is like a huge, he's like, you could tell that this was the way he was raised. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but his parents essentially raised him to become a rapist. And I know that's going to sound very weird when I say it like that, but like, all his life, if he's coming from a rich household, essentially the parents have given him everything that he wants, right? They have basically, you know, he's never been told no in his life, and he's been able to get whatever he wants. So if that translates to everything in his life regarding, like, getting gifts that he wants, he gets to buy whatever he wants because he's from a rich household, then who's to say that that's not going to translate? It clearly didn't translate well into his relationships that are personal with, like, all the girls that he was with.
LS said she was eventually able to get out of the car and get home. Now, the victim told police that Butler forced her to perform oral sex on him in the parking lot of a Planet Fitness despite her saying no. And unbelievably, during the assault, the affidavit says that Butler took a call from his mom, told LS she had to be silent or he would hurt her. There's another assault that happened at Butler's home in what's referred to as a movie room. According to LS, she believes Butler's mom heard her crying and saying no as Butler tried to have sex with her. And she apparently came to the door asking if everything was okay. But it seems that's as far as this mom's interaction went because the affidavit just says that Butler drove LS home at that point.
Yeah, my point exactly. And it's just really, I've already seen this, but it's really just infuriating to hear this because you can tell that the parents fucking failed their kid in every way imaginable. Apparently she heard her say no, the mother of Butler say no several times. But even though I guess Jesse said, yeah, everything's fine, or they both say everything's fine, then I guess that's good enough for the mother, I guess. Yeah, sure. The parents have never told Jesse no, ever, in their life. They never have. And that's what results... This is what happens when you don't fucking raise your kid properly, is they think that all of this is okay. And that's going to become more and more apparent as we get through this story.
Except he didn't take her all the way home. No, he apparently parked nearby, tried to sexually assault her for nearly 2 hours. The affidavit says that when she finally managed to get to her house, he followed her and continued trying to assault her inside of the home. And the abuse just kept getting worse because according to LS, in late February of 2024, Butler reportedly strangled her because she refused to have sex with him. So the affidavit says, quote, LS reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her video.
Yeah, this guy needs to, he needs to go to prison for a really long time. I have a lot to say about that, but it's just like, this guy is obviously, he is a legitimate threat to people around him. This guy is a threat to the hometown, and he needs to go to prison forever, and This situation only gets more fucked up. Like, you may think that this is as bad as it gets. Oh no. Oh no. It gets so much worse.
Vision being blurry, and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt, and she was confused about what occurred. She was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, LS reported she had a handprint.
How could you find someone getting assaulted, like, humorous? That's, like, what I want to know. Like, how do you find somebody getting violently assaulted funny? Like, how is that at all, like, just humorous in any context?
Injury on her neck. Now, LS was examined by a sexual assault specialist, confirmed the teen had been a victim of sexual and physical abuse. This is according to the affidavit. I gotta say, by the way, this is a prime example of what we try to do here on Sidebar. We're trying to understand the legal system. We're trying to understand the law. And I have to say, I am so happy that this show is sponsored by legal experts.
Hey, man, you know, I totally get it. You know, we gotta make money somehow with sponsors, right? I'm not blaming the Jesse Weber here, not to be confused with Jesse Butler. I'm not trying to blame him for the sponsors. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, we're covering a really dark story, and he's covering a really dark story. He probably covers a lot of dark stuff. You know, you gotta get that sponsors, and we get through the sponsors. You know, what are you gonna do?
Morgan & Morgan.
You gotta do what you gotta do to make that bank.
Right? This is America's largest injury law firm. This is a firm with over 1,000 attorneys. They know how the law works. You know why they're so big? Because they win all the time. Listen to this. They have recovered over $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. Think about that. In the past few months, you have a client in Florida that received $12 million after the insurance company offered just $350,000. Out in Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million. That is 40 times the insured's $650,000 offer. You have another client in Pennsylvania that received $29 million after being offered only $500,000. And even if you think your case isn't worth millions of dollars, why not just start a claim and fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan, they make it so simple. You can start a claim from your phone in just 8 clicks. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC sidebar by clicking the link below or scanning the QR code on screen. So Butler and LS, they apparently broke up in March of 2024. He started dating KS, and his disturbing and aggressive behavior, that allegedly continued. You have a second affidavit.
Yeah, this is not the kind of guy who's like a one and done kind of person. This is not the kind of guy who misreads like a boundary, or he like, you know, oversteps a boundary and like misreads some signal. This guy knows what he's doing is wrong. This guy knows that he is hurting women, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care because he was raised to think that what he does is okay, and he's selfish, and that's what he's going to do, and he's going to carry that over to his next relationship, and he's going to keep doing it.
David,
that's the kind of person he is, because he's never been told no in his life from his like rich parents.
Details assaults that KS says she suffered during this relationship. Quote, KS reported she engaged in sexual intercourse with Jesse Butler throughout the term of their relationship and did so to prevent physical aggression from him. When KS told Butler he was hurting her, he did not care and would not stop. Because of his aggressiveness, she was scared to tell him to stop. She expressed she was scared not to do what he wanted because of how physically violent he had been with her. KS reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. KS reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. KS explained she learned what to do and not to do to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to KS, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off of her. KS stated this would often lead her to hyperventilate, which Butler thought was funny. So not only is it horrific, but you're seeing how these accounts are very similar to one another. Now, according to this affidavit, Butler also strangled KS, and so bad, so long, that she eventually passed out. She reported she woke up on the floor of the living room in a house where she was apparently house sitting, and she claims Butler was livid that she wouldn't have sex with him in someone else's home.
Oh my fucking God.
But after strangling her, KS claims Butler raped her 3 or 4 times.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Later that same week,
God.
KS reported that Butler strangled her again. And if it's possible to even believe this, it was an even sicker power play. The affidavit says KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if
he wanted to record it as well, by the way. He wanted to record him assaulting her.
You can believe it? Police.
This might be fucked up. I almost wish he did record it just so he could incriminate himself and go to jail. That's like, I know that might sound fucked up, but I almost wish he was that stupid just so he would like get locked up away so he doesn't do it to anyone else.
Found.
It sucks that it even happened to begin with, but like that's like the only context whatever. You get what I'm saying. It's just this guy's fucked up. This guy needs to go away.
That video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed out.
Oh my god. So not only did he violently assault women multiple times, but he has video proof of attempted murder, essentially, because there's no other interpretation from that, right? He grabbed the neck of the person and he strangled them to near death.
What these girls went through, what they endured.
It is trauma beyond what they deserve. That is unbelievably traumatizing.
Is just unimaginable. But then you get to the consequences, and that too is seemingly unimaginable. Why? So Jesse Butler was charged in March of 2025 as an adult with 10 felony counts. We are talking rape, we are talking attempted rape, sexual battery, assault. He was later hit with an 11th charge when he apparently violated a protective order. He was facing almost 80 years in prison for these crimes.
It's almost like 80 years isn't even enough. Like, that is not enough time for what the girls experienced. That is, like, I mean, Jesse basically fucked up their lives by doing what he did, essentially. Like, he basically, like, rape is, like, forever traumatizing. Like, there's no going back to the way it was. Obviously, you can still live with life, but you still have to live with all that trauma that you got from the fucking Jesse. Because, like, rape trauma is, like, horrific. Obviously, there's levels of trauma, but I don't really think that's, like, a conversation we should be having right now with the horrible fucking shit that he's done.
He ended up entering into a
And you know that his parents are, like, interconnected with, like, everything. I mean, they said his dad worked heavily with, like, sports management or whatever, or something like that. Like, they're, like, rich parents that, like, get around and they have power in the system. So you know that, like, the parents are definitely in on this, too. And even the mom knew about it and did absolutely nothing to stop it. Because she, like, I don't know if it's because the parents are so scared to tell their children no, or if they don't want to tell them no, but either way, it's a failure of parenting.
Contest plea, okay? This is where everything changes. This is where the big shock comes when he entered that plea in August. His case had apparently been downgraded from adult court to youthful offender status. And because of that, he would spend no time behind bars.
Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. So basically, because he was a minor at the time that he committed the crimes, he was 17 years old at the time of the crimes, he's basically going to walk away from it, essentially. That's basically what he just said there. And I said earlier in this video, I don't care if he was 17 years old. Listen, here's a conversation we can have. If you are a minor and you get charged with having weed on you or something, right? If you spend time or you get like charges as a minor for having like weed on you or something like that, or vandalism or whatever, you can get off, right? Like you can like not go to jail or whatever. Like that's fine, right? Because you're still, that is an excuse you can use where you're still just a kid at that point. You do stupid shit. That's fine, right? That, okay. Like I can understand getting off because you're a kid in those situations. But I think 17 years old is old enough to know that violent sexual assault, and if your sexual partner is crying and begging you to stop and you keep going, I think 17 is old enough to know that's fucked up. That you shouldn't do that shit. I feel like that's a little bit like, I don't think, like, that might be a hot take. Maybe you guys think I'm giving a hot take. But when I was 17 years old, I knew not to do that shit. You know, I mean, granted, I don't think I had much sex at all when I was 17, but, like, I knew not to violently assault someone or traumatize someone like that, ever. So, if I knew that, then I'm sure a lot of other 17-year-olds know not to do that shit. And so, and what's worse is that the fact that he's not going to get any charges, that signals to him that this is okay behavior and that he's going to keep doing it. He's going to keep going into his adulthood, and when he goes into college, he's going to find more girls, and he's going to keep victimizing them. And he's going to keep finding more girls to assault. This guy is a violent predator, and they basically just cut a violent predator loose. This guy is like a huge fucking violent predator, I don't care if he was 17 at the time that he committed the crimes, quite frankly, because he's going to keep fucking doing it into his adulthood.
So instead of his 78-year prison sentence, that was deferred. It's deferred as long as he complies with his, quote, rehabilitation plan. According to News Nation, until his 19th birthday, Butler has to do these daily check-ins, these weekly counseling sessions. He has a curfew. He isn't allowed to be on social media.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's going to stop him from violently raping people. That'll show him. That'll rehabilitate him, not being able to do any of these things. Sure, that'll show him.
He has to complete 150 hours of community service, and if he does that...
150 hours of fucking community service is ridiculous. I know people who have gone to jail for way less, and who have had to do more community service hours for way less.
No prison time. The district attorney's office released this statement per the Daily Mail. The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment, and should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
So this complete 180 on punishment for this apparent sexual predator, as you can imagine, has caused quite the outrage in the city of Stillwater.
Yeah, it should. I would be fucking outraged too. It's a huge spit in the face to all the fucking survivors of sexual assault that Jesse has permanently traumatized. Like, this is not the kind of person that needs to, get a little bit of help and he can do better and not assault more girls or whatever. That's not what this was. He knew what he was doing. He did it in a very calculated way. He doesn't fucking care about women's boundaries whatsoever. He's gonna do it again. He's gonna do it again now that he knows that, like, the parents are gonna... Apparently, like, the parents were consoling him during when he was getting the charges as well, which signals to him that this is okay. This is okay behavior. He knows his parents are gonna bail him out of it. He knows he's not gonna get any charges, and he's gonna do it again. He's gonna violently assault more people again. He's gonna get away with it again. And that's fucking crazy.
And now, across the
This is not something you get to just shrug off so easily. This is fucked up.
world as the story spreads. There are calls for the judge who approved this plea deal, Special Judge Susan Worthington, to be reprimanded, to be removed for okaying this. And even the state's legislature could...
Yeah, the judge was in on it too. This is another corrupt... This is, as you find out later, this is another corrupt judge in Susan Worthington. She is a fucking worthless judge who pretty much fucked over not only all the victims, but she is also going to fuck over potentially future survivors as well by allowing him to go free. And I think the judge should be fired. I think the judge should, if there's a pension deal she has, she should get her pension removed completely. She is a huge failure to the justice system, and she's a huge failure to all the survivors that Jesse has victimized and that he may continue to victimize, or other potential future victims that Jesse may victimize.
Possibly be getting involved here. Oklahoma State Representative Justin J.J. Humphrey appeared on Ashley Banfield's show on News Nation this week, and he is fired up.
But I keep coming back to how it happened. Sir, do you think that the courts are corrupt? Is that how you think that this deal was?
Absolutely, the courts are corrupt. The fucking parents must have been in on it somehow. Like, you can tell that, like, Stillwater is, like, it's small town vibes, right? Like, obviously, the population, last I checked, was, like, what, 50,000? But, there's still, like, people that, like, sort of know each other, you know? It's, like, small community vibes. And so, like, everybody gets around, right? Everybody knows who they are. And I just don't believe for a second that this was, like... I feel like the parents were in on it somehow to get, like, a bail deal or something like that. Or that I guess the judge decided to let them go because it's a huge corruption ring that is happening.
Maneuvered?
Oh, absolutely. We're working on grand juries right there. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see more cases like this. I think we're going to see, I'm working on a case that may be as shocking as this. We're trying to get the Payne County grand jury because of this kind of action. And so, yes, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, the judge not only should be fired, the judge should go to jail for a long time, and she should, if she had, like, a pension worked out, like a pension deal for her, being a judge, she should have that removed as well, completely. And I guess whatever was made off of her pension should go into the therapy for the survivors of this horrific sexual abuse.
Absolutely. There's a lot of problems. We're meeting with... great resistance from their court and from our Oklahoma government. I mean, we're meeting with great resistance on trying to get that grand jury and hold these people accountable. So again, until they're held accountable, the laws are there, but what do you do when they don't follow their own rules, when they don't follow justice? They took an oath to justice. Does this sound like justice? And again, here's what I'm saying. Shouldn't we investigate? Should we not investigate? Was there political favor done here? Was this done as a result because of positions the father has or because people knew each other? I would think that it would warrant investigation. And again, it's all allegations. We don't know what happened until we go in and investigate it. But golly, I'm mad as all get out, and we're trying to have other things there in that same county investigated. I mean, very, very corrupt things going on in this county and really across the state. There's all kinds of things.
So I want to bring in Justin Shepard, host of Just in the Nick of Crime. So happy to have you on here to talk about this. You've been following this case closely. You helped shine a national spotlight on this. How did you first hear about this case?
So actually a friend of mine, another mutual social media creator, he goes by Missing in USA. Literally his content is all, for the most part, missing people and stories, and they work behind the scenes and actually research this stuff. He lives in Stillwater, and he sent me this story, and that night I was actually getting ready to go live on YouTube to talk about three different cases, and I was like, after I read that story, I was so enraged that I was like, I'm going to scrap what I'm talking about right now because these cases have been, cold for years, and we're going to talk about this. And I was infuriated. I called a friend of mine who's an attorney. I was like, hey, can you hop on right now? Because I want to talk to you about some stuff, ask some questions. So she did as well. And then from there, apparently,
honestly, shout out to the guy who reported this to get more awareness to it. The guy who went to Stillwater High School or whatever and reported the story. Shout out to him, because this, we absolutely cannot let this go unpunished. We cannot let Jesse Butler's crimes go unpunished. We absolutely cannot let the judge's crimes for fucking over every survivor's crimes go unpunished, where she basically is allowing more people in society to get raped by this guy, because he absolutely is going to do it again. If he was willing to do it multiple times then, and he was able to get away with it, essentially, it signals to him that, he'll get away with it again. And so we cannot let this go unpunished. We have to make sure as many people know about him as possible. We have to make sure that he, goes to prison for a long time. And that the judge should basically just fucking go to jail. The judge should lose out on, everything, because she is a fucking worthless, corrupt piece of shit.
I opened the floodgates in Stillwater, Oklahoma. From there, I got it sent over to the people over on News Nation. It's like, hey, you guys might want to talk about this. But basically, Dan had initially sent me that story and was like, something needs to be done about this. But when you see somebody getting charged with the charges that he had, and we can get into those a little bit more here in a moment, but originally being sentenced to 78 years and then walking away with 150 hours of community service, that is just a miscarriage of justice. There's just no other way to look at it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely the parents are in on it somehow. The parents must have I don't know how it, I totally forget how the corruption ring worked, but it's definitely some form of a corruption ring, because the fucking parents are very rich, and they definitely seem fairly known in the town. And the judge, I guess, I don't know, any number of things, I guess, could have happened if the son got, locked up or for one reason or another. I don't fucking know, dude. There was a huge corruption ring, and I think there's more details we'll find out about that later in the story, but it's fucking... it's infuriating. It actually is, this story, makes me so upset when I listen to it. Even though I've already listened to it once, this story just makes me so fucking upset that violent predators can just get away with their crimes scot-free.
I haven't seen anything like this,
Me either.
anything near this. And from your research, from speaking with experts, from speaking with attorneys, This
is a side note, but Susan Worthington, this worthless, corrupt piece of shit of a judge, looks like fucking Harry Potter's... Is it aunt? Would you call it aunt? It's Uncle Vernon's sister or whatever in Prisoner of Azkaban. If you've seen that movie, you'll know who I'm talking about. She looks like that character, the one who gets inflated and then floats into the sky. That's who I'm referring to. That's who she looks like. This worthless piece of a shit judge.
What's the rationale here? What have you learned here about how this is even possible? Because I will tell you, There is a
I also think the fact that she's a woman is like this might be like kind of sexist of me. The fact that she's a woman is even extra disappointing because like she of all people, you would think that she would sympathize with younger women or younger girls who have been violently assaulted and share their story. You'd think that she would side with them and like have a little bit more sympathy to them. But I guess not. I guess, like, whatever fucking... I don't fucking know what the reason was. She just decided to let him go because I don't fucking know. But regardless of whatever her intention or her motivation was for letting Jesse go, she still fucked over so many people by doing this.
lot of speculation online right now that the Butler family may have connections that may have helped.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I thought the same thing. I wouldn't doubt that they have connections because they're super fucking rich. We're looking at like a huge layered corruption story here. And because of this like internal corruption, this predator was able to get away essentially.
Him get this so-called sweetheart deal. We couldn't confirm that. What can you tell us?
So I've spoken with some of the families as well of both victims who came forward against Jesse. There is a third victim who she hasn't come forward, but can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get? So there's a third victim. And kind of like you said, the speculation is that Jesse Mack Butler's father is a man by the name of Mack Butler. And he was the head of football operations at OSU for, I forget how many years, but for a pretty long time. He's, kind of a staple in that community. And when we're talking about Stillwater, Oklahoma, we're talking about OSU, for people who don't know, Stillwater is the town that Oklahoma State University is in. So there's a lot of things tied to that. Mack Butler, it seems that he grew up there. His wife currently works for OSU. His daughter works for the public school system there. He was apparently had been hired as like a coach of some kind for Stillwater High School as well. So somebody with deep-rooted ties into the community, and that then leads you to the judge in this case, or one of the judges in this case, Judge Susan Worthington. Between her and her father, the Worthingtons have had a hold on that bench for over 50 years. So while you can't necessarily say definitively that, hey, there's this connection here because he's deep-rooted in football, she's a judge, they all grew up in the same town, that there's this kind of connection, but it's not really many difficult mental gymnastics to make that leap, right?
No, it's definitely not. There's definitely a connection there. There's a lot of towns in America that rely on one industry, right? It could be like a factory, it could be a school, it could be a electronics, I guess, complex or whatever, or something like that, or like a facility of some kind, right? Whatever the case is, the town could be reliant on the university, which is Oklahoma State University to be exact. And I feel like because it would make sense why they have deep-rooted connections, the Butler family does, because everybody, if that industry shuts down, tons of people could get put out of jobs and they could lose like a ton of income and wherever. So it makes sense why there would be favoritism. It's wrong, by the way. This is wrong, and I don't agree with it at all, and I don't think anyone should. But there are a lot of towns that are like that, and I feel like we're seeing a lot of that here.
Hey, this is a town that requires the college, needs the college to survive. It's very deep rooted into the system.
Yeah.
That they're very much supportive of OSU for this whole kind of thing to be very close-knit. And that's kind of what's being speculated, to the point that even it's now gotten the attention of one of Oklahoma's lawmakers, Representative J.J. Humphrey, who's also running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight, a little bit more details. But
yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you've spoken with him already, but Representative Humphrey is talking, my understanding is about a potential investigation into this. Is this true? Is there going to be a formal investigation into what happened here?
It sounds that way, yeah. There
should be. People should be pushing this story, and I feel like people should be continuing to speak up about this, because there is absolutely, like I said earlier in this video, we cannot let this go unpunished. Nuh-uh. No way. This guy, the Jesse Butler person, is going to continue to assault more people if he is out freely. And because he's a threat. He's a threat. He doesn't care about people's boundaries. He's never been told no in his life ever. He's always had everything handed to him. He's always been able to do whatever he wants with no pushback whatsoever. And so he's going to continue to do that to other girls. He's not the kind of person who cares about women's boundaries. And I don't think he strikes me as the kind of guy who will rehabilitate. You know, I've seen a lot of people who have done terrible things rehabilitate successfully. I don't think that's possible for Jesse Butler. I don't think so. This guy is a monster, and he is going to continue to hurt more people because he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit.
You know, he kind of looks at it from the same way. He was telling me that he's got a lot of background, you know, in the court system and investigation before he got into politics. And he said, you know, basically kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, that can he say definitively or can he prove right now that there's a connection? No, but his exact words, but it sure as hell smacks like it, you know? And so he's like, it's worth an investigation. So he's thinking about, you know, wanting to put a grand jury together to do an indictment possibly, you know, the conversation we had, which we'll go a little bit more in depth, and I don't know if that could bring additional charges against Jesse, because when you look again at the litany of charges, there are some that should have been on there that weren't. Like, in my opinion, as not a lawyer, why he wasn't charged with attempted murder when one of the girls was near death for what?
That is a good question to ask. You would think that he is, especially considering I heard earlier in this video there was like video proof of it, right? It could possibly be that like the mother was like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, obviously with like everything like we discussed earlier about like Oklahoma State University being like the main thing that the town depends on. And so like the judge probably was like more inclined to be super corrupt about this case, because if their son went to jail for 80 years, then obviously I guess there's a lot of favoritism to those kinds of people, like the rich families in power that are deeply rooted in all of these networks. And that's why he was able to get away with what he did. And I guess the one less attempted murder charge, probably because he was a minor or he was a kid when it happened. I don't fucking know, or some bullshit reason like that. But most likely the fact that the judge knew that the family had some kind of power to some extent. And there's like a huge corruption ring going on with this.
He did. And so those are kind of the conversations, but he feels that not just Stillwater, that entire county, Payne County, and then other places in Oklahoma, there's a lot of, I mean, he said it flat out, there's corruption, and he believes that this is no different than that. And it merits an investigation.
What is the community saying? What is the community feeling about this? Are they up in arms about it?
Yeah, they are. So there's a protest they're planning sometime next month, I think November 5th. But they're planning a protest, but they don't think that it's fair. And, you know, what's been very interesting about this is that since, like I said at the beginning, I opened the floodgates on this. Since I started talking about Jesse, I've gotten no less than 20 to 25 messages, whether it's, you know, through Insta or direct email or even Messenger, of people saying, hey, here's my experience with, you know, Judge Worthington. Here's my experience with this DA. Here's my experience in, you know, the judicial.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah, so this is the part I was waiting for to talk about. This right here means that Judge Worthington, this implies that this person, Jesse Butler, he is not the only person that Judge Worthington has gotten away with, made go free scot-free, essentially. I don't know why I had such a hard time articulating that, but this clues me in to the fact that she probably has let more heinous people get off freely for one reason or another. And it is a whole ring of corruption. This woman needs to go to jail. This judge needs to go to fucking jail for allowing predators to basically exist freely in society. She is a fucking disgrace to women. She is an absolute fucking insult to any survivor of sexual assault, and she has potentially put more future victims in danger with this mishandling of this case. And if there is a pension plan that she has, she needs to absolutely lose out on that immediately, or have the money remaining from that pension go into the therapy of the victims. And yeah.
System in Stillwater, Oklahoma, in Payne County. And what's been interesting about all these stories, I've kind of started to compile them together and like to one thing so I can kind of analyze them. And a lot of these, not all, but a lot of them have the exact same players in every one of them. There's another case, for example, that Judge Worthington and I think Michael Culling, I think, don't hold me to the last one, was on it. And basically, this was a guy, he was a teacher, got arrested for sexting a 13-year-old girl. was sentenced to 10 years. Not just that, he was also stalking her, trying to break into her house.
10 year. First of all, sentenced to 10 years in prison for sexting with a 13-year-old girl is fucking crazy work. That guy should probably be in prison for life if he's a pedophile. I know it may sound like I'm giving like life sentences to a lot of these people, but these people are predators. It feels like Stillwater has like a deep-rooted history of just letting predators go away. So 10 years already sentenced to prison, that is not enough time for a fucking teacher sexting with a 13-year-old. That's crazy.
This is a grown man, okay, an educator. And he gets sentenced to 10 years, which sounds great, right?
Not really. 10 years is not enough time at all.
He does 8 months and gets out.
8 months! 8 months! 8 months for a grown-ass teacher sexting with a 13-year-old. 8 months. Why? There is a corruption ring that's happening. There definitely is some deep-rooted corruption happening here, absolutely, with, like, everything. Like, a lot of people are speculating that, but I really wouldn't doubt it at all. Like, everything points in the direction that there is, like, a long corruption history with Judge Worthington, basically allowing predators to get away for free, and then the rich parents of Jesse Butler, basically not telling, like, having a lot of power and a lot of sway in a lot of the decisions, I guess. And I feel like it just makes sense. Like, everything just feels like this is just a huge, like, I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg of a huge scandal case here. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is insane. Like, I don't think people realize how fucking insane this entire story is. How so utterly fucked up everything about this story is.
Oh. While he's out, he rapes a 16-year-old girl.
Bro! So he gets away. He gets sentenced to 8 months in jail. Gets out, and then when he gets out, he rapes a 16-year-old girl, the teacher they're talking about. This guy right here is going to do the same fucking thing because Judge Worthington let this guy get away. The same thing is going to happen with this guy.
The family gets an emergency protective order against her. Protective order. He violates it 11 times. Each time, Judge Worthington gives him
11 fucking times. Dude, Judge Worthington is a scumbag, worthless human being. Worthington, more like fucking Judge Susan Worthless. That's who she is. She is absolutely fucking worthless, and she's an insult and a threat to the fucking... She absolutely fucked up the justice system heavily here. I'm not normally for vigilantism, generally speaking. I think vigilantism, generally speaking, you should rely on police. But when you see shit like this, that is like deep-rooted corruption, this is part of the reason why we see vigilantism form, is because of shit like this.
$500,000 fine. The girl doesn't feel safe. She wants to get out of that town as quickly as she possibly can as soon as she graduates and just be out of Stillwater. And this is another case. I'm actually probably going to be doing something today on it or tomorrow, but this is another case that, again, it's the exact same players, and there's a lot of them with it. And I was telling Representative Humphrey about that as well. Like, you know, this is not just a one-time singular incident when it comes to these predators.
Yeah. First of all, you talk about violating a protective order, okay?
Violated it 11 times.
My understanding is something happened with Butler violating a protective order, and I think that would, speak to a lack of concern, a lack of consequences. You just mentioned it in this other case. What can you
Oh, no, Butler would absolutely reoffend. He absolutely is going to reoffend, and he is going to continue this behavior onto his adulthood, especially when he goes into college. He's going to continue to fucking... just imagine if Butler had access to alcohol, roofies, cocaine, or any other drug. Just imagine the kind of fucked up shit he would be able to do if he was able to get away scot-free like this.
Tell us about that.
So obviously, because the victims were minors, we'll leave their names out. But for one of the victims, he wouldn't stop harassing her, wouldn't stop calling her, wouldn't stop threatening her, despite the fact that the court told him not to do it. And he didn't even get, he got that charge, but nothing really happened for it. When you're at that point and you're facing the charges that he's facing, you have to take that very seriously, especially when there's strangulation charges on this. Yeah. And even though there was 2 charges that happened, there were 3 strangulations on at least 2 of the victims. So one of those victims too had to have surgery. I don't know if you've seen the pictures on that, but had to have surgery to correct the damage that he did.
Oh my fucking god, dude. I'm so angry. Bro, I'm actually triggered. Like, you guys may not be able to see it. My face is boiling, like, with blood. This is absolutely fucking disgusting. This whole situation is so fucked up. Like, everything about this situation is so fucking disgusting. It's just, like, it's a huge, deep-seated, like, corruption that's happening within the justice system as well. That's how bad it is. Like, the judge is letting predators get away with this shit, and the victim, it's just a huge smack. And I would hate to be the parents of the survivors. I would hate to be the survivors. I would hate to be in their shoes, because it must be so awful to have to deal with the judge pretty much hand-waving assault, essentially, and hand-waving pedophilia, because that's essentially what she's doing. She's hand-waving pedophilia, she's hand-waving assault, she's hand-waving all these things, and it just doesn't... I don't even, like... I just hope people fucking share this story more. I hope people spread it around like wildfire and like spread more awareness to this corruption, because I absolutely don't think that this should go unpunished. No way whatsoever.
And her medical physician said, I think that he said 30 seconds from death, but let's just say, he basically said that she is very near death on what he did. And this is also a guy who strangled one girl to the point of unconscious. Each strangulation was a point of unconsciousness.
Yeah, this guy needs to go to prison for life. I don't care. I don't care that he was a minor when he committed the crime. I don't care. This guy knew what he was doing was wrong. He absolutely knew, and he would absolutely do it again going into his adulthood. This guy should be in prison for forever, indefinitely. There is no rehabilitating people like this.
And one of those points, once she woke back up, he had set his camera up because he wanted to film it. He did it again to the point of unconsciousness to this girl, caught it on camera, and actually when they searched his devices, they found that video. So it's not like hearsay, it's actually there.
Yeah, so it's basically pretty much confirmed that not only he raped her, but that he attempted to murder her. That's not even like alleged. That's basically confirmed at this point. The attempted murder at the very least is confirmed, and I get the attempted assault by that point as well is like pretty much confirmed too.
So when you have that, and you have,
I'm so fucking angry. I feel like I'm not giving like a lot of meaningful commentary to this, because one, I've already seen it, and two, I'm so fucking angry. This whole situation is so unbelievably fucked up.
Young 16-year-old girls, who had to just go through this horrific ordeal. You look at pictures of Jesse Butler, he's an athlete, he's a big guy, it's an issue of he can easily overpower these people. Using tactics of fear, coercion, things like that, based on what we've heard. What are these girls supposed to do when you don't have a judicial system that's protecting them, when he blatantly disregards what the court has said? I think that speaks volumes, and I think it speaks even more when the courts do nothing about it.
And I want to highlight something. So one of these victims, talk about the victims, one of the victims submitted a victim impact statement to the court for the sentencing hearing. And according to KOCO, an Oklahoma outlet that reviewed the court paperwork, she wrote, I've had to explain bruises, explain silence, explain why I started isolating from people who love me. You didn't just strangle me with your hands, you strangled my voice, my joy, my ability to feel safe in my own body. The Daily Mail spoke with the mother of one of the girls that Butler attacked, calling her only Amber. She told them, it's appalling. I received similar punishments for breaking curfew when I was a teenager. It's a complete injustice to these girls and to future victims, because unfortunately, statistically, it won't end. Not only are you giving a slap in the face to those survivors, you are potentially putting other women at risk by not holding him accountable. Now, Justin,
that's what I've been saying. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's what I'd be saying. She's fucking, like, more women are being held in danger because he's going to go to fucking college and he's going to be able to do the same shit over and over and over again, and the legal system is not going to hold him accountable.
And some people are calling Jesse Butler the new Brock Turner, because back in 2015, Turner was this 19-year-old star swimmer at Stanford University, sexually.
I forget all the details of the Brock Turner situation. It's been such a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure at this point, like, Jesse is worse than Brock Turner. I definitely know, like, based off all the details we're hearing here, maybe Brock Turner's is worse. I don't know. I don't remember all the details with Brock Turner's story because it's been so long, but I don't know. Like Brock Turner's is bad, but I feel like Jesse is like worse. I don't know.
15, Turner was this 19-year-old star swimmer at Stanford University, sexually assaulted a woman while she was unconscious. He was convicted in 2016 of 3 charges of felony sexual assault, but at his sentencing, you had Santa Clara County Superior Court Judge Aaron Persky sentenced him to just 6 months in jail, followed by 3 months of probation. He was required to register as a sex offender for life. He ended up being released after just 3 months for good behavior. The judge in that case, by the way, ended up being recalled by local voters in 2018. The case influenced California's legislature to require prison terms for rapists whose victims are unconscious and change the definition of what rape means to include digital penetration. So there was an outcome there, but I feel like that's a fair kind of comparison, no?
Yeah. I mean, I can see where the comparison comes in, but I feel like with this case, like I said, I don't know all the details about the Brock Turner situation, but I feel like when it comes to this case, like it goes so deeper because the judge is rooted in so much corruption involving the families, the rich families, and then also like how she's let predators get away because of the university and stuff. And so it's just, and it seems like she's like those two, the fucking pedophile teacher or the Jesse Butler, it seems like those aren't the only people that she's basically allowed to get away with this scot-free. This is fucking disgusting. This whole situation is so fucking nasty.
I think it's a great comparison because you have, rape by instrumentation, which is pretty much the same thing as, digital penetration. And I agree with you. And I think that with Brock Turner, who, by the way, I have been told, I've not researched on my own, that he has changed his name to Alan Turner, so that I guess he can survive a little bit better. That was another travesty, just because these girls, they have to live with this for the rest of their life, what happened to them. And these people get off scot-free. What kind of message does that send? And I think that when you look at somebody like Jesse Butler, I agree with you. And, you've covered enough cases, I've covered enough cases to know that people like this, they reoffend. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I know that I believe that we both know some of the same people. And Gabby Petito's family, they've really gone into domestic violence awareness and things like that, changing the laws. Well, Jim Schmidt, her stepdad, had told me that when somebody puts their hands around your neck, there is a 750% increased chance that they will kill you. So for Jesse Butler, somebody who has now comfortably strangled girls at least 3 times to the point of unconsciousness, filmed it, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen when he's now in college and all of this stuff is expunged from him, which, by the way, I don't know if you were aware of that. You probably were, that when he turns 19, less than a year from now, all of this stuff is expunged. It's all completely gone. Nobody knows about it except for what it's found on the web.
Yeah, I mean, like, the court of public opinion has already deemed him a rapist, so... And they should, by the way. Rightfully so. Like, not disproportionately at all. But, like, the fact that legally, like, it gets expunged and he's still able to live in the real world it's a failure of so many people on so many levels. It's a failure to every sexual assault survivor. It's a failure to the survivors who had to deal with Jesse, and it's a failure to the parents, and it's awful. This is just, like, truly fucked up.
But, what's going to happen when he's at college and now he's got alcohol? He's got access to things like roofies. And
he would absolutely drug and rape women. This is the kind of person, the guy who's involved in like a lot of sports, which there's a lot of like frat culture overlap with sports, especially in college settings specifically. This is the kind of person who would roofie a girl and rape her. He doesn't care about their boundaries whatsoever.
Created states of some of these girls who are partying that should feel safe. What's going to happen when he's there and he does that and he takes somebody's life? Who's going to be held accountable then?
And look, that's the importance of reporting on this and keeping it in the public eye. So it's not put, in the waste bin and no one knows what happened here. Something real happened here. And by the way, you and I cover these cases all the time. You know how difficult it is for survivors to come forward and explain what happened to them if there's not digital evidence to support it, if they don't have corroborating witness accounts, if there's not surveillance footage it's mostly based on their accounts. So not only coming forward and going through the process to explain what happened and going through the legal process. And now this is the result. Justin, that's why the work that you do is incredible. It is really incredible. And I can't highlight what you do enough. From what you've seen so far, How are these victims and their families doing? I mean, how are they responding to this? What was their reaction to all this? I explained it a little bit, but for the best that you can tell, I mean, how are they moving forward?
It's interesting. So when you talk about the victims, I've spoken with Amber. I talk to her, almost daily at this point. And what people have to remember too is that when something like this happens, it's not just the girl that's the victim. It affects the entire family, right? So now you have a mom and a dad, advocating for their child, and people always say the same thing. And I say it even too. I'll take a step back. Like, I even told Amber, I was like, I don't know how you and your husband, y'all are better people than me, because I don't think I could just let somebody walk. Like, I would be okay catching charges. And she was like, we had that conversation, but we need to be on this side of
I just couldn't imagine being the parent of a child or a kid of something like this happening to them. I just couldn't imagine it. Like, being a parent's already, like, you already worry about your kids so much, and once the worst has, like, already happened, like, your child gets fucking raped, that's, like, I just wouldn't be able to imagine how the parents feel. They probably, like, blame themselves so much for not protecting their kid enough or protecting their daughter enough. They probably feel so awful. And they also feel rightfully angry, too. They should be angry at this, because this is fucking... They got fucked over so badly by the worthless judge, Susan Worthington, who's a total fucking hack of a judge.
Of some gates.
Total corrupt judge.
So that we can continue to help and advocate for her. But it affects the entire family. I think that despite all of this, what I'm learning is that I've not spoken to the girls, obviously. I'd rather speak to the parents because they're young. But from what I understand from the family, they are not letting this guy take their voice. They're not letting him have the power over him. And I think that that's a pretty incredible thing, because that's what a lot of this is about, right? It's about the ability to have power and control. And I feel too that with this story now getting more of the public attention, because originally it was being swept under the rug, that they also feel so much more supported, not only by their community, who's now more aware of this, but, somebody said yesterday, made a comment on one of my videos, said, oh, I saw this on our morning news report in Oslo, Norway. And so
Really?
this has made,
Wow.
yeah, this made it all the way overseas. And I think that for these girls, they finally feel like, even if the court's not giving him justice, he can't escape this. He can't run from this.
Yeah. And by the way, just so I know, have you heard anything from him, his family, his side? Have they reached out to you at all or anything like that?
No, but if they did, I would talk to them. I'd let them have that opportunity. But no, they haven't. My guess is they're probably laying pretty low right now. What I have heard is that there is a group, a Facebook group, and I was sent a couple screenshots of it, where the family was reaching out to the administrator of that Facebook group, basically talking about how they're being threatened and how they're being harassed and things like that, and that basically that this was a big thorn in their side, is how I will word that. That's my words, not theirs. But I'm not saying that people should harass or threaten people at all. I don't agree with that, but for it to be a thorn in their side, good. I'm okay with that.
Well, I think more answers are warranted, and I'm very curious to see what happens with your conversation with Representative Humphrey, to see what this investigation will look like. Justin, for anybody who's out there wants to see more of the work that you do, not just with this case, this story, but other stories that you cover, let everybody know where they can find you, because I think, again, you do really important work.
Well, thank you. So I'm on pretty much every platform you can think of: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Substack. And it's all the same name, Just in the Nick of Crime. So just kind of how it sounds. And I also have a website, justinthenickofcrime.com, which will lead you to all of my socials as well. So that's kind of where you can find it and what we do. And I do different things on all the platforms depending. But, this kind of stuff, this type of awareness is important. It speaks for victims everywhere. And if I can, too, plug this, I'm also working. This case kind of got me fired up a little bit, to the point, we cover a lot of things like this where you see predators get plea deals like this. And right now it's kind of a blanket statement, but I started a petition, which in 2 weeks has broken over 50, I think it's at 54,000 signatures right now, to stop these predators from getting plea deals. And I realize that's a very broad statement, which once we have enough signatures, we can whittle it down to get a little bit more specific. But if anybody wants to sign that, that's linked through any of my bios as well.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely sign it after this video. If I find it, I'll try to link it in the description of this video. So guys, if you want to sign the petition as well, I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you guys are interested. If I am able to find it, I'll put it in the description, and you guys can feel free to sign it too if anyone's watching.
And, once I get to 100,000, we can start taking it to some of the bigger representatives.
That's great. That's great. Justin Shepard, thank you so much for taking the time. And just on a different note, great lava lamp. Nobody does the lava lamp anymore. And that, that takes courage in and of itself. I mean, that's a great, look at that back there. Nobody does a lava lamp.
This is the
like
biggest one you can buy.
Is that right?
It is. It's like 27 inches or something like that.
Okay, well, now you're just showing off. Now you're just showing off about your lava lamp, and everybody sees that.
I went.
I mean, I don't blame them for talking about a lava lamp. I mean, this is a pretty fucking heavy story, so they have to lighten it up a little bit. I totally get it.
To a store and they were on clearance, and the woman was like, "Well, if you buy."
It do be a nice lava lamp, though. It do be a really, really nice lava lamp. I do be enjoying lava lamps. I used to have one a while back. No one really gets lava lamps anymore. I should, though. I probably should invest in another one, maybe when I get my own place again.
2 of them, I'll give you a better deal. It's basically 2 for the price of 1. So I have another one downstairs as well.
Fantastic. I love it. Justin Shepard, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.
This was so fucked up, dude. Jesse Butler, not Jesse Weber, needs to go to prison forever, indefinitely. This is the kind of person that needs to stay behind bars for the rest of his life. The judge, Susan Worthington needs to lose her pension. She also needs to get fired and also go to jail because she has let so many predators loose. I think we are seeing the tip of the iceberg for a massive corruption ring that's going on in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And it's really fucked up. It's really fucked up.